I'm happy to introduce both Peter Beggs and Pierre Janssen as technical content specialists from Meliora VR, who will share more about audio challenges and while creating immersive experiences, and of course, how to tackle them. Hello, Pierre and Peter. Welcome.
Hello,
So, same as before, before I give you the stage, everyone, please write your questions in the chat section and we'll make sure to answer them afterwards. Peter and Pierre, the stage is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. As said, Peter Beggs, Pierre Janssen, we are videographers and editors within the SASE Group. The SASE Group is a training facility in first aid and safety environment. You can think about company safety, safety in schools, escape plans, and training in hospital environments. Training on site is often very difficult. For that reason, we are looking for innovative solutions. And we are active in new development and always working on new innovations. So we do this in a subsidiary company called Meliora VR that you already introduced. Thank you for that. There we use Warp VR for more interactive learning. We call that the right choice learning, and together with our customers we develop interactive videos with common or specific protocols like hospital situation. An example. An insurance company with thousands of customers who work in the healthcare spend a lot of money on policyholders who suffer injuries caused by grasping and bending the thumb, grabbing the wrist and pulling hair. They would like to teach their customers how to prevent this, but that was very almost impossible task, either as a class or as individual. 3 scenarios have been created for this purpose, showing what you should do and what you should not do. The screenplay was written by a psychologist and a martial art expert. They also came up with wrong answers that could be chosen during the training. The correct answer is clearly explained in the picture-in-picture and demonstrated by the martial art expert. Because this was a tailor-made, we did not have direct feedback, but the customer and the students were extremely satisfied. Another example, we also created a tailor-made training for healthcare institutes with residential care parks. This involved fire and evacuation. The scenario was written by our own screenplay writers, who are also a subject matter expert, and the scenes were recorded at the customer's location. The locations are spread throughout the Netherlands and have the same design everywhere. For the students, training in a familiar environment was very pleasant and clear. The way Warp works, the way of learning, does not put a damper on the healthcare capacity. Anyone can complete the course anywhere, at any time, and on any device. During this process, we encounter several challenges. We would like to show you how we solve some of these, and in particular, to the audio part.
Okay, then it's my turn, I guess. Maybe I can turn the video a little bit. First of all, it's got a bit technical now, sorry about that, but it's the only way to explain some things to you. I first have to tell you we always use Adobe Premiere, and we don't get any videos directly from the camera into the Warp Studio environment. And that has a few reasons. One of the reasons and possibilities is that we can blur accidentally filmed personal items like photos or certificates or papers with names on it. We also can remove unwanted objects from the video. So if there is a clock that's running or some things that don't need to be there, we sometimes have the possibility to remove them. We also can add objects to the video that weren't there during the recording. For example, make alarm lights on the wall and make them flash too. Or if there is an alarm light and it's out, we can make it flash. We can also change sometimes the color. It's often very difficult when you have direct daylight and the sun is shining, and a quarter of an hour later the sun is gone after a cloud. Then you have a complete other lighting in the set, and we try to eliminate that by changing the colors somewhat. It doesn't always succeed, but we do our best. Another one is add a picture-in-picture, as Peter just explained, we had a martial art expert who explained how to avoid injuries, and we took the film apart. So we put it in a large picture-in-picture, so you can see it in the VR glasses, and it's clearly explained what is done. Another one is slow down or speed up some actions in the scene. Sometimes the scene takes very long because an action has to be done and has to be completed. And then we can speed up the action until the place where it is interesting again. So the viewer doesn't have to wait to complete time that the scene has to take normally. Last but not least, and that's the head of the main issue for this conversation, is the processed audio. We like to show and let you hear the microphones. We like to show and hear how you benefit from audio recording with microphones and post-processing the audio. Recording of the actor's voice with wireless microphones gives more definition to the speech. And you can also profit from the difference in volume between the ambience in the room and the voice itself. This difference makes it easier to eliminate unwanted sounds, and it may be very important to clearly hear what the actor is saying because he or she may explain something. And also in many cases, a discussion between actors results in a question to be answered. So let's show you some cases. There was one case, and we had to make a movie in a large factory hall, and we usually visit the location before we go for a filming day to see what's out there and how we can make use of the environment. And when we visited, the factory was an empty factory, an empty hall. It was fairly new, and it was with us. It seemed good to be filming there. But when we arrived, the building was already fully in function, and the radio was playing. There were a lot of noise from sorry, I'm not used to present. You see, you already noticed. The radio was playing, forklifts and ventilators were running, and the environment was totally different than the first time we visited. I'd like to let you hear now the original recording with the original microphone on the camera. Maybe you can hear it. I hope it's clearly for you. One moment. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So as you have noticed, you can barely hear what the actors are talking about. And part of that has to do with the distance between the camera and the actors. But in this case, it was rather large indeed. But we had to do this because it was an exercise with a fire hose. And we'd like to keep the most of the setting in one screen without having the viewers to move their heads 90 degrees each time. So now what we did to the audio is we attached two wireless microphones to the actors and we recorded them separately on an audio recorder. And before cutting the video, we synchronized the two tracks with the original video. So we have 3 tracks now, a video track with audio and 2 separate audio tracks. But before importing them into Premiere, we first processed the 2 audio files in Adobe Audition. When we normalized the audio to ensure the volumes of each track were fairly equal, we removed the low frequencies to reduce the sound of the forklifts, and we moved the background noise and the radio. Although we don't want to emphasize, we feel obliged to tell you that we use some wave plugins to do this task. That is not a normal function of Adobe Audition. Now we had 2 clean audio tracks we can import in Premiere and cut the video along with the audio. And if you import them in Premiere, don't forget to mute the original audio from the camera because it's always in the way. And next fragment will let you hear the difference in clarity.
Als jij hem bijvoert, Theo, dan zal ik hem draaien. Ik kan hem op een helft ook even wisselen, Eugène. Die draait toch zwaar. Oh, dat komt wel goed.
So as you will have noticed, all sounds are very dry now. Although the conversation is very clear, it doesn't reflect the ambience of the large factory hall. And therefore we added some reverb to the audio tracks of the voices. And we added an extra track with a factory ambience sound. And please listen to the next fragment so you can hear it by yourself.
Als jij hem bijvoert, Theo, dan zal ik hem draaien. Ik kan hem op een helft ook even wisselen, Eugène. Die draait toch zwaar. Oh, dat komt wel goed.
Now the sound matches the film much more, as you heard. You also may have seen the header in the upper part of the screen showing the time code and the name of the scene itself. This header is not visible, of course, in the final production, but it helps us a lot in communicating with different clients during evaluation. It makes sure that we all talk about the same scene and the same time in the scene when we get feedback and we are ordered to change something. Let's go to the next case. We were filming in a hospital room, and a certain alarm had to be activated. It was part of the scenario. And in the meanwhile, a nurse had to explain something while the alarm was beeping. The sound of the alarm came very loudly through the conversation. We will now let you hear the raw recordings using the camera microphone.
De patiënt heeft er baat bij wanneer je vertelt wat er gaande is en wat er te verwachten staat. Dat doe je door middel van de ABCDE-methode. Hierdoor heb je zelf een houvast en weet de patiënt ook wat er gaat gebeuren. Daarnaast is van groot belang om aandacht te hebben voor de medepatiënten, die natuurlijk ook een ingrijpende gebeurtenis meemaken. Maak hiervoor gebruik van je collega's, zodat je de patiënt in de acute situatie niet alleen hoeft te laten.
Luckily, we hooked up the nurses with a microphone, a wireless microphone, and this way we were able to reduce the alarm sound to an acceptable level. Please hear the difference in the next fragment.
De patiënt heeft er baat bij wanneer je vertelt wat er gaande is en wat er te verwachten staat. Dat doe je door middel van de ABCDE-methode. Hierdoor heb je zelf een houvast en weet de patiënt ook wat er gaat gebeuren. Het is van groot belang om aandacht te hebben voor de medepatiënten, die natuurlijk ook een ingrijpende gebeurtenis meemaken. Maak hiervoor gebruik van je collega's, zodat je de patiënt in de acute situatie niet alleen hoeft te laten.
Okay, that were the examples, and that leaves me with some tips for you. I always say don't place a voice in a stereo image. This is because the position will not change while you move your head with the VR glasses. It always stays there where it was initially. For example, if you have two actors, one on the left and one on the right, and if you mix in stereo, then indeed the left actor feels at the left side and the right actor's sound comes from the right. Then when you move your head to look directly at the left actor, the sound still seems to be on the left of you, while you would expect this to be in the middle. Unlike actors, an ambient sound may work fine in stereo. It gives you the feeling of really being somewhere. It just makes sure that no extra noticeable noises come from one side. So you have the same effect as with the voices. Please note that some cameras have problems with audio synchronization. We have an Insta360 and this device runs late on audio for about 6 video frames. This normally will result in lip sync imperfection and will be even more noticeable in falling objects. The solution is to cut the first 6 frames from the audio track and then move the audio track back to the beginning of the sequence. In our case, we always make sure that the audio is 6 frames earlier than the video, And next fragment, you will hear the closing of the waste bin comes late according to the video. A problem with presenting here is that we noticed that the platform, the video runs late on the audio, so it's not the best example there is at this moment. But we didn't have time to fix it and to measure the delay in video in the platform itself. But I will let you show the examples. It's shown 3 times because it's very short. Here it comes. And the next fragment is the audio is 6 frames earlier than the video, and you hear the sound to the bin closing at the right time now. Okay, I hope it was good this time. I couldn't hear it at my place at the moment. And another tip, when using microphones, wireless microphones, people everywhere in the room or in the field will always sound the same and very close to you. So sometimes you will have to apply an effect to represent the feel of a distance. This often can be achieved by removing some high frequencies from the audio and add a slight reverb. In the next fragment, you will hear a nurse talking while she's walking into the hospital corridor.
Piet, ga zitten. Goed. Het is goed zo. Mooi blijven zitten. Piet, ik ga Hanny zo voor je bellen.
As you heard, there is no difference between the walking in the corridor and the first part of the scene. And now I added some reverb at the end, and at the upper end, at the outer end, I removed some of the high frequencies, but you will hear the reverb clearly.
Piet, ga zitten. Goed. Het is goed zo. Mooi blijven zitten. Piet, ik ga Hanny zo voor je bellen.
So in the last scene, the audio matches the video much better than the first one. We agree it's a lot of work to edit the audio, but you gain it in clarity for the students. And it's a one-time job, but you benefit from it each time the video is played, so we think it's worth it. Then another issue that we encounter regularly is that we can't hear the actors during recording. Often we are in another room because we can't hide from the camera on the set. And in that case, it's difficult to discover when a scene is ended. And more important is that the director and the subject matter expert can't decide whether the spoken text was right or wrong. Also, the videographer can't figure out whether the sound is good enough to use on the film. We solved the problem as follows. As you see, this next picture gives you an idea of the gear of the audio we are using for audio recordings. And at the bottom, you see a wireless monitoring system. The transmitter is attached to the output of the recorder, and the body pack receivers can be given to the people of interest. And because it's wireless, the listeners don't necessarily have to be in the same place and can free walk around. So we understand this is lots of information in a short time, but we hope we were able to give you some valuable tips. And if there are any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And thanks for watching for now.
Thank you, Peter and Pierre. I think we have a few questions here. So I will go with the last one first. Thijs asks if you ever add external sounds later to the scenes, something like an alarm or maybe other sounds.
Yeah. We try to avoid the sounds in the scenes when we are recording, like slow whoop and that sort of things. And we have several audio clips with several alarm sounds, so we can add them later, and also place them in the environment, like add some reverb, or maybe it can come from some kind of other stuff. So that's indeed, we are adding it later, most of the times. But sometimes the alarm has to sound because it's part of the scene, and they push an alarm button. It's a real alarm button, like the example in the hospital, and they had to sound the alarm. We couldn't switch it off.
Okay, maybe that was not that pleasant. Alarm the whole hospital, but thank you for answering that. I think we have one more. It says, do you use ambisonic sound allowing more spatial presence?
No, the ambience sound is normally stereo, and the problem is if you have an ambionics sound, it would nice if the glasses, the VR glasses, are reacting on the movement and the sound is reacting with it. But that's not the case at this time. Maybe in the future, but not now.
Okay, I think we have time for one more, and Will is asking whether you've heard that improving the sound makes the experience more immersive from many of the trainees.
Yeah, in the past we recorded with microphones from the camera, and sometimes we got the problem that people told us we didn't understand this, or we couldn't clearly hear what was saying, and it was very important because the conversation resulted in a question. And that made it much more clearer for the users that are looking at it now.
Nice, amazing. Okay, thank you for sharing all of these tips. I think they were useful for all of our community, and thank you for being our guest here today.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Thank you.